Let's talk about edge angles and what I'm using on my user knives. Have kind of a spread laid out here. All of these are what I consider performance edges. If you guys know me well enough by now, you know that for one, I love knives, how they look, but that's probably not my first love of knives. My first love is performance. So I really geek out on the different steels. Not so much the formula, like the metallurgy side of things. Like, I like what that metallurgy means. Like, what does CTS XHP mean over S30V? You know, what can I do extra with this steel that I might not do with S30V? I'm pointing at this thinking that this is not S30V. This is a Duratec 20CV. So a lot of my knives, when I go out to buy a new knife, I really enjoy. They don't have to, but I really enjoy when I get to try a different steel out. So I'm just going to kind of mess with some knives here, show you some performance edges. Some of these are a little bit ugly. These are mostly, not all of them, but mostly my knives here on the table. They're mostly users, and I know it sounds really strange. But when it comes to my own personal knives, yes, I like them to look good, but I will take a lower laid back edge, even if it gets a little funky and ugly, over a thin edge that doesn't cut as well as this does. Does that make sense? And these are not like edges that I would ship to a customer. These are my personal carry pieces and what I would call a performance edge. So you can see how laid back that is. You can see how it gets a little weird on that where it comes up thick. We've already had video about all that. So yeah, they could have done a little bit better job there. But it doesn't stop me. I'm not going to grind off more knife here. And I still wanted my laid back angle. This thing cuts like an absolute monster right now. And it's in that S30, is it S30? Yeah, it's kind of scratched up there. Again, I really dig using my knives. S35VN. I think a lot of people who get into the knife hobby kind of forget. We're paying all this money for these knives, not only because of steel, but steel is a major factor. You know, it's cool to collect all the different steels, but what does that actually translate into? To me, that translates any kind of super steel should cut really well. I should be able to lay those angles back pretty far. And what I have found that most manufacturers do not lay them back as far as my particular taste are. You see how laid back this is. And again, this has tape and crap all over it. I should have cleaned that a little better before I brought it out for you guys. I apologize. But this might not be the best one. This is S110V, and I have to sharpen it. But you can see this is laid back more than the standard way it came. Maybe if I had another standard one here. Check this one out. Brought this one down, way down. Every time I sharpen it, it feels like I bring it down just a little bit more. Thing cuts awesome. Now this is the CPM, not CPM. I thought this was mistaken for my military with a handle like this, and that is CPM D2. This is CTS XHP, which is very similar to the powder D2. Very similar. So it's very tough. CTS XHP is very tough. I'm not afraid to go very shallow with it. And if you guys remember, I don't know how many of the videos you watch, obviously, but a while back, I was showing you how far back I laid the angle on my Bowie here. It's been working awesome. Just awesome. No problem with chips. I haven't really been paying attention. If I need to whittle a stick or whatever and twist a little, I'll do that with no worries at all. Understand that a different steel, maybe that and S30V, S35, could possibly chip out at the edge. Any steel can chip out, you know, if you lay it back far enough. But I found that this is a very good balance for me personally. What is that angle? Let's find out. Let's run a quick test. So how you can find out, I've showed you guys over the years how I use the back of my nail. Okay, this won't catch till about right there. So whatever that is, right there, what angle is that? Maybe a little less than 15. Maybe we're looking at like 13, 14, something like that. And you really can't always judge on the fat edge, your thickness of your edge there up front, because it depends on how thick the blade is ground, right? So anyways, I just found that a lot of steels can be brought back, can be laid down, reprofiled much farther than most people think. But if you're using it like near staples and stuff like that, and you're running it into metal, anytime you get that thinner edge, it really doesn't matter what steel it is, it's going to chip. So you have to be aware of that. If you're putting a lot of pressure, if you're really hard using your knives, if you're really torquing on your cuts, or if you use your edge, I don't know why you would, like scraping like this, you could dull it a little quicker because it is thinner and you're going side to side, so you could put little micro chips in there. You know, you just have to handle them a little bit differently. This is S30V, and I brought it back pretty far. Had a lot of luck with it, no chipping. So I like polished edges. I think they look better. For me personally, when I strop them back to sharp, it's just easier for me to keep a polished edge, and I like the way that they cut. A lot of people say, well, a polished edge won't cut as well like on rope, or cut as well as a like a tomato or something like that. I found not true. If you keep them sharp and they're mirrored like that, they cut just as well. They may not have that bite. They cut a little differently, but they still cut just as well, in my opinion. I don't know if that makes sense. If you think about like a rough, toothy edge, which I don't have any here to show you, but if I did, a rough toothy edge has like micro serrations, but in my mind, and I don't know how true it is, those serrations are thinner on the edge, so it seems like they're not as stable side to side. So I feel like a polished edge holds an edge longer. I could take two steels. This would be very interesting to test. I should do that because I have manila rope here. Do a polished edge, same exact. Do it on my wicked edge too, so it's the same exact angle on each side. Do a polished edge versus a rough, maybe 150 grit or something like that, diamond cut finish, and do it on the same knife. I believe I have a few paramilitaries in S30V that we could test, something like that. You see, I brought this back. I think most people think that like 18 or even 15, most people think 15 is pretty low. I'm here to tell you can go lower than 15. You can. You're just going to have to be a little bit more cautious when you use it. If you hit a staple, don't be mad if you put a chip in your blade, because it can happen. But if you're a conscious user, I think if you're looking for more performance, you can bring more performance to almost any knife if you just lay that edge angle back a couple degrees. It doesn't even take a lot, and you'll be able to tell the difference. It's strange. It's really strange, but 2 degrees makes a world of difference when you go to cut anything. So let me go look at the strider. Woo, daddy! You think that thing cuts? Oh yeah. Brought the strider back, but understand that this is not as fat as it looks. It catches right there. So that might be 15 maybe. If you don't understand what I'm doing, is biting into this plastic marker is the same as doing your nail, right? So when it catches on that marker, right there is exactly where the apex of the edge is. You know what I mean? So that's my angle that I'm sharpening at. What you're looking at, the distance from here to the blade, is the angle that you would sharpen that at the stone. Right there. That makes sense? And that would be the angle of the micro bevel if the knife has a micro bevel. If it doesn't, then that's the angle all the way down to your whole angle. Does that make sense? So there you go. Hopefully a tip. Hopefully if you guys are sharpening your own knives, here's a different, something's going out for a friend of mine. S110V. Brought that back. Here is his Bowie's, same buddy. This was all hand done, all freehand. Hopefully it's showing. I need to start doing some more sharpening videos for you guys. I need to break out the wicked edge and sharpen. To me, it's not that much rocket science. There's not that much into it. You just sharpen down until you get your little bit of burr. Once you get enough experience sharpening, you don't even really have to grab a burr. You can actually just feel where that's going to hit. Or maybe you get a little burr here and then you know exactly where to work your stones. But that would be for another series of videos. More in sharpening theory, and maybe just kind of show you guys what I'm talking about too as I'm doing it. But to me, sharpening a knife is not too hard as long as you have the proper technique and maybe even the proper equipment. But that might be a fun video too, like a sharpen challenge video. Like what can you get a knife sharp on? Some people can do it on the bottom of a coffee cup. That'd be pretty cool. This one's laid way back too. Done on a wicked edge too. So a little straighter. You can see the difference too. In a wicked edge versus a freehand. Does that make sense? See how my edge is still, it's very straight and very even, but the shoulder is just a little bit softer. If you feel it, it is very slightly convex because the hand cannot hold the constant angle. Sometimes it might be this, it might be this, it might be this. You know, any little change, whereas a wicked edge or a edge pro, something that's clamped, a guided system is guided. Obviously. So there you go. Let me know what you guys sharpen at. Do you guys have a standard? I know a lot of guys just say, well, I do like a standard 15 on the main edge, and then I do like a 20 on the micro bevel. Not that that's wrong, but I think you could get more performance if you bump that down from 15. Maybe bring it down to about 13, see what you like. It does make the bevel a little bit fatter. Here's a different strider. So you're going to see, oh, yeah, I should have cleaned that one too. Should have, it'll make, not should have, I'm getting confused. The bevel's going to get a little bit wider. Again, I'm showing you a strider for more extreme look at things. But you're going to have that fatter edge. Some people don't like it, some people love it. I personally like it. I love it, actually. I think that looks very badass. He's got a nice shiny edge, and I know it equals into cutting performance. So I think that's part of the attractiveness to me. You know, it cuts better. When I go to cut anything, it's just pure joy with any of these knives when you lay those angles back. So there you go. And also another benefit to laying your angle back is what? Yep, somebody said it. Your micro bevel. If you use a micro bevel, it makes that edge very thin, and then you can put your micro bevel on there, and very easy to touch up because all the steel has been removed behind the edge. And then maybe once a year you go back and reprofile the edge back down, and your micro bevel, maybe even all the way out. And then next time you need to sharpen your knife, you put your micro bevel on it. Next time you need to sharpen it, put the micro bevel back on it. You know, and it's very easy because that steel is thin behind there. That was one of my arguments years ago when we got into all that conversation. I don't know how many of you guys remember that, but hollow grinds versus flat grinds. And I don't, yeah. This one is not laid back for performance. Why? Anybody? Anybody? AUS 8. I don't dare lay AUS 8 down much more than this because it's a softer steel. It's going to fold and roll. To me, this is about 15, maybe 15. on a very thin ground, hollow grind, right? So as I touch this up, it's very easy, not only because it's AUS 8, but because there's not much metal down here at the edge, okay? I think that's mostly common sense, but just giving you some of my opinions on that stuff. There you go. I am a big fan of performance edges, laying your angles back. I probably could lay this Sebenza 25 down a little more, although I'm super happy with how it is now. That's pretty low though. I try to find that balance where it doesn't look goofy, but also is laid back much more than the factory. Because most knives are shipping out probably even at 20 degrees, 18 to 20 degrees. Not all of them. Spyderco does a really good job, but pretty steep. And I think that's because they want a stronger edge there in case the user, you know, kind of mistreats their knife, mishandles the knife, and then they send it back to them. Hey, this knife is chipping, got a bad heat treat. You know, not everybody who's buying these knives. In fact, most people who are not buying these knives in front of you are knife enthusiasts. They're just everyday guys who just need their knives. And maybe they need a thicker edge. This thin edge is not going to suit everybody. You have to be a little bit more cautious when you go to cut around staples, or you're cutting cardboard down and you accidentally bump the concrete, right? But they are going to be sharper. That's what the whole video is about. It's going to be sharper. It's going to provide more performance. Just be a little bit careful. If you're watching this video about knives, I think you are that cautious type and you could probably pull back a little bit. Just keep in mind your steels. You want something that's considered a super steel. I would say, as a rough estimate, anything like S30V and up. So something like 154 cm, yeah, you can reprofile it, and I did. This Emerson here on the main bevel, I did keep it a chisel ground edge, and I brought that back pretty far, mostly for performance. Not that this is a big utility knife for me, but I wanted to make it sharper. So tactical performance, you get me? Wink wink, you know what I mean? I didn't bring it down because I'm cutting stuff. I would generally say that I know that these are CPM 154. I don't know if it says it anywhere, but anyways, I would not really want to bring down most 154 cm down that low. CPM 154, yeah, you can pull it down. One of these Striders, in fact, are CPM 154. So there you go. I don't know where it is to fish it out, but there it is. I really like pulling my edges back. If you don't know anything about me, know that knife hobby, half of it for me, or more than half, is actual knife performance. How does it cut things? Which is why you don't see anything on this table that is super thick. About the thickest I'll go is about like a SNG. And even then, it's got to have a very reprofiled edge. And then I dig it. So there you go. I do compromise a little bit of prying capabilities. A little bit of, you know, twisting, a little bit of hard use. But to me, it's worth it. If I had to still pry a door open, this could do it. Maybe, you know, in the limitations of the SNG folding frame line. So there you go, guys. Hope you enjoy your day. We'll catch you on next one. See ya.